She whispered, "Please don't." But the human couldn't leave the foxwoman behind. The snare's prisoner. The morning mist clung to Thornwood Forest like whispered secrets as Cale Brennan adjusted his leather satchel and studied the uncharted path ahead. As a mapmaker, he'd learned to read the forest's subtle language, the way sunlight filtered through ancient oaks, how animal tracks told stories in the soft earth. But nothing prepared him for the sound that stopped him mid-step, a soft, pained whimper carried on the wind. He found her behind a curtain of hanging moss, collapsed beside a vicious steel snare that bit deep into her leg. Her appearance struck him breathless. Silver-white fur covered her forearms and crowned her head like moonlit silk, while delicate fox ears lay flat against her skull in fear. Her amber eyes, wide with terror, fixed on him as he approached. "Please don't," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The words carried layers of meaning. "Don't hurt me, don't abandon me, don't make this worse." Cale's grandmother had warned him about the Volpari, the foxfolk who dwelt in Thornwood's deepest reaches. "They're not like us," she'd said. "Stay clear of their affairs." But looking at this woman's frightened face, her leg bleeding from the cruel trap, he couldn't find it in himself to walk away. "I won't hurt you," he said softly, kneeling slowly. "Let me help." She flinched as he reached for the snare, but didn't pull away. Her breathing came in quick, shallow gasps as he carefully worked the mechanism. The trap had been set illegally, designed to maim, not just capture. His jaw tightened with anger at whoever had placed it here. When the steel jaws finally released, she gasped in pain and relief. Blood stained her fur, but she met his eyes with something new, a flicker of cautious hope that made his heartache shelter in silence. Cale fashioned a makeshift bandage from his shirt, wrapping her wounded leg with gentle hands while she watched him with wary curiosity. "There's an old cabin nearby," he said quietly. "A day's walk from here. You need rest and proper care." Selva, she'd whispered her name during a moment of fever, tried to stand but stumbled. Without thinking, Cale caught her, feeling her slight weight against him. She tensed, then slowly relaxed, allowing him to support her. The journey took twice as long as usual. They moved through dappled shadows, stopping frequently for her to rest. Cale noticed how she observed everything, the way he checked his compass, how he marked their path, the reverence with which he touched the ancient trees. Once, their eyes met during a rest, and neither looked away for a long, breathless moment. The cabin appeared as twilight painted the forest purple. Inside, dust motes danced in the fading light, but it was dry and safe. Cale built a fire while Selva settled onto the old wooden bench, her ears twitching at every sound. Over the next days, a rhythm emerged. Cale hunted and gathered herbs, remembering his grandmother's healing knowledge. Selva watched him work, sometimes offering soft corrections. "This plant, not that one. Brew the tea longer. Add honey from the hollow oak." Her voice, when she chose to use it, carried the music of wind through leaves. They communicated mostly in glances and small gestures. He'd bring her food and she'd nod thanks. She'd point to his maps spread across the table, tracing routes with a delicate finger, and he'd explain his craft. Sometimes their hands would brush, and electricity would spark between them. One evening, as rain drummed on the roof, Selva spoke more than 3 words together for the first time. "Why did you help me? Humans fear my kind." Cale looked up from the stew he was stirring. "Because leaving you there would have made me less human than any difference between us." Something shifted in her amber eyes, walls beginning to crumble. Healing and hope. By the second week, Selva could walk without limping. She moved around the cabin with fluid grace, her silver tail swaying as she helped prepare meals or organized Cale's scattered cartography tools. He found himself watching her more often, the way firelight caught in her fur, how her ears perked when she was curious, the rare smile that transformed her entire face. "Show me your world," she said one morning, gesturing to his maps. Cale spread his latest work across the table, a detailed chart of the coastal cities he'd visited. As he spoke of harbors and marketplaces, of stone towers and crowded streets, Selva leaned closer, her shoulder touching his. The warmth of her presence made him stumble over words he'd explained 100 times before. "And this?" She pointed to a mountain range he'd sketched from memory. "The Silver Peaks. I climbed them last winter." His finger traced the route near hers. "The sunrise there, it's like the sky catches fire." "I'd like to see that," she whispered, and something in her tone made his heart race. That afternoon, Selva insisted on showing him the forest through her eyes. She led him to a hidden grove where flowers bloomed in impossible colors, their petals luminescent in the shadows. "My people have protected this place for centuries," she explained, her voice filled with pride and longing. "It's sacred to us." They sat beside a crystal stream, and Selva began to speak of her life, of running through moonlit forests with her siblings, of the songs her clan sang to welcome spring, of the loneliness she sometimes felt being different even among her own kind. "You understand that," she said, turning to him. "Being apart. I see it in your maps, always moving, always searching." "Maybe I was searching for something I didn't know how to name," Cale admitted. Their faces were close now, close enough that he could see gold flecks in her amber eyes. The air between them felt charged, full of unspoken possibilities. When she reached up and gently touched his cheek, her fingers soft and questioning, he covered her hand with his own. "Selva." "I know," she breathed. "This is forbidden. Impossible. Does that change how you feel?" She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. "No." The choice of hearts. The kiss, when it came, was soft as moonlight, tentative and wondering, a question and answer both. Cale cradled her face gently, marveling at the silken texture of her fur, the way she trembled slightly against him. When they finally drew apart, Selva's eyes shimmered with emotions too complex for words. "My clan will come for me soon," she whispered that night as they sat by the fire, her head resting on his shoulder. "They'll have tracked me this far by now." Cale's arm tightened around her. "What will you tell them?" "The truth." She laced her fingers through his. "That a human saved me. That he showed me kindness when he could have shown cruelty." She paused. "That I've fallen in love with him." The words hung in the air like stars. Cale turned her face toward his, kissing her deeply this time, pouring everything he couldn't say into that single gesture. They spent the night wrapped in each other's arms, speaking in whispered confessions and tender touches, both knowing their time together was running out. Dawn broke grey and cold. The howls came with it, long, melodic calls that made Selva stiffen. "They're here," she said, her voice catching. 3 Volpari emerged from the forest's edge, their silver forms moving like smoke between the trees. The leader, a tall male with scars crossing his muzzle, fixed Cale with a hard stare. "Selva Night Whisper, you were declared lost. Your father grieves." "I was trapped, Theron," Selva said, stepping forward but keeping Cale's hand in hers. "This human freed me. Saved my life." Theron's gaze dropped to their joined hands, his expression darkening. "You forget yourself. You forget our ways." "No," Selva said, her voice stronger now. "I've remembered what matters most, that kindness transcends borders, that love doesn't recognize the lines we draw between peoples." "You would choose exile." Theron's voice held both warning and sorrow. "Choose him over your clan, your family, everything you've known." Selva looked at Cale, her amber eyes full of certainty and fear and hope all at once. "I choose a future where I don't have to choose. Where both our peoples might learn there's another way." Cale squeezed her hand. "I'll come with you. Face your clan. Face whatever judgment comes. Together. Beyond boundaries." The journey to the Volpari settlement took 3 days through parts of Thornwood Cale had never mapped. Selva walked beside him, their fingers intertwined, while Theron and the others kept watchful distance. Each night, Cale held her close, both of them drawing strength from the other's presence. The settlement appeared like a dream, dwellings woven into living trees, bridges of silver wood spanning between ancient trunks, soft lights glowing from windows carved into bark. Dozens of Volpari emerged, their fox-like features ranging from curiosity to suspicion as they regarded the human in their midst. Selva's father, Elder Fenric Night Whisper, stood at the heart of the gathering. His silver fur was streaked with white, his amber eyes heavy with both relief and concern. "My daughter returns," he said quietly, "but not as she left." Cale stepped forward, heart pounding. "Elder Fenric, I ask for nothing but the chance to prove myself worthy of your daughter's trust. She saved me as much as I saved her, showed me that the walls between our peoples are built on fear, not truth. The clearing fell silent. Then Selva spoke, her voice carrying to every listening ear. Father, I've learned that courage isn't about following the safe path, it's about building new ones. I love Cale Brennan. And if my people cannot accept that, then I will forge a new path, however difficult. Elder Fenric studied them both for a long moment. Finally, he approached, placing a hand on Selva's shoulder, then surprisingly, on Cale's. Perhaps, he said slowly, it's time we stopped letting fear write our future. You will face challenges. Both our peoples will resist. But if you're willing to walk that difficult road together. We are, they answered as one. The seasons that followed brought struggle and triumph both. Cale and Selva became bridges between their worlds. He brought humans who were willing to learn, she taught her people to trust again. Their love became a testament to what was possible when hearts refused to be bound by old fears. On their joining day, beneath Thornwood's ancient canopy, surrounded by both human and Volpari witnesses, Cale whispered against Selva's ear, "You whispered please don't, and I couldn't walk away." She smiled, tears of joy trailing down her face. "And you whispered I won't hurt you, and you never did." Their kiss sealed not just their bond, but the promise of a future built on courage, compassion, and the radical belief that love could heal even the deepest divides. Lessons from the Thornwood. True courage is found not in following the familiar path, but in extending your hand across the divide of fear and choosing compassion over convention. Love recognizes no borders drawn by tradition or prejudice. It flourishes wherever two hearts choose understanding over judgment, connection over isolation. The bridges we build between different worlds begin with a single act of kindness, and are sustained by the daily choice to see the person before the difference. Sometimes the whispered plea please don't becomes the beginning of please stay, when we have the courage to answer fear with tenderness and walls with open hands.